Hey everyone! A few months ago, I participated in my first ever game jam. I made a game called The Lightkeeper in about 30 hours or so. The game was received quite well. Out of almost 700 submissions, the game scored number 84 for overall polish and 166 overall. So I decided to add a lot of cool features like new systems, new enemies, new UI, polish it some more, even a new game mode. So basically make it a better game and release it as a full one. In this video, I'll show you and explain some of the changes that I made. But before we start, pause the video and subscribe to the channel. It takes you a second to make my day. Now that we figured that out, let's get back to the video. So, the game jam was hosted by Miziziz, and we had to make a game using the given asset pack. We had to make the game in 48 hours, however we were allowed to split those 48 hours throughout the whole week. You also could work in teams up to 3 members, but since I am a programmer, which implies I have no friends, I had to do it all by myself. Also, I'm not that good of an artist, so I was very happy to hear that we have to use a given asset pack. I worked hard for about 30 hours on this project and came up with the Lightkeeper in the end. Right off the bat, when I saw the campfire in the asset pack, I knew I want to make some game where you have to prevent the fire from running out. But that's quite a common idea, right? So I needed something special, a twist of some sort, a unique system, something like morphing? Basically, the player can morph into any of the enemies he killed. Eating its soul will make the player inherit all the monster's abilities and strengths as well as the weaknesses, so keep that in mind. It is a simple but appealing roguelike game. I have a whole devlog video about how I participated in this game jam, so go check it out after you finish watching this one, if you're interested of course. Anyway, I would say that the game performed quite well, especially since it was my first time doing something like that. And that's exactly why I decided to finish it and improve on it and release it for Android, PC and perhaps even iOS. The problem with the last one is, in order to post apps on App Store, you need a license which is almost 100 euros per year, compared to the Google Play one, which is 20 euros for a lifetime. So we'll see about this one. In theory, I wrote the code in such a way that it should run on any platform, so it shouldn't be too difficult of a process, but that's a story for another video. Alright, so the first thing I tried to implement was mobile control. When you're from PC, it's quite easy. You aim with your mouse, attack with the mouse button, and move using the keyboard. I thought of making 2 controllers, one for movement and one for aiming, and when you click on the aiming one, the player will attack automatically. Of course it didn't work from the first try, but I managed to make it behave in the end. Then I added 2 action buttons for eating and burning souls. On PC it is key E and F respectively. But now another problem appeared. You see, the way the game used to work was like that. You kill an enemy, it drops a soul, then if you're touching the soul, you could press either E or F to burn or eat the soul. If you eat the soul, it will be collected and you could use it to upgrade your stats at the end of the wave. But the main complaint about the game was particularly this one. People found the gameplay to be quite confusing and difficult. It was impossible to tell which soul belongs to which monster, it wasn't comfortable to interact with them and so on. So I reworked the whole system. The way it works now is like that. When you kill an enemy, it drops a soul, and if you touch the soul, you'll collect it and store it in your soul's bag. Then, you can either burn or eat the last picked soul from the bag, but that will consume it. However, those souls that you didn't consume can then be used to upgrade your stats at the end of the level in the shop menu. That makes the gameplay much more intuitive. And also, that brings us to the next update. I've added 2 more stats you can upgrade. First one is the maximum amount of souls you can collect in your bag, which is quite self-explanatory. Bigger this stat, the more souls you can store at the same time in your bag. The second one is a multiplier for the ghosts you collect. So let's say at the end of the wave you have 10 ghosts and the multiplier is 0.2. Then 10 multiplied with 0.2 gives us 2 additional souls to spend. If the multiplier would be 0.4, then we get 4 additional souls to spend. After that I started working on a main menu for the game. I had this picture in mind where a knight is kneeling in front of a campfire and everything is dark, like some Dark Souls vibes. But my art skills won't allow me to draw what I had in mind, so I had to think of alternative solutions. I found different images with knights kneeling and drew one of them in Photoshop. Then also on Google I found the image of a night forest for the background. I simply dragged it into Photoshop, added a campfire that I also found on the internet, and now the trickery begins. My idea was like that. I can't draw that good, so I won't be able to create a highly detailed picture by myself. That is why I will take a bunch of images, blur the shit out of them, and then try to make it good with Unity's post-processing. I added bloom, I added film grain, I added some depth of field, and then started adding lights and particle effects. It took a little bit of tweaking of the parameters before I was pleased with the result, but in the end I think I've got a quite decent looking menu already. But I'll come back to it and make it even better, but a little bit later. Next, I decided to rework the in-game UI. I found this cool fantasy GUI asset pack on Unity Asset Store. I'll link it in the description below if you're interested. So I used it to upgrade the look of my game. I changed all the panels, buttons, and the game started looking better and better. But a good looking game is not enough. Players need some sort of motivation to keep playing your game. Initially, the game had an endless mode where more and more monsters would appear with each wave, but that's not enough for a full game, right? I created one more game mode, Campaign, one with levels where the progress is saved. All your progress from the campaign mode is saved and you can load it whenever you want, or start a new game if you wish so. In the endless mode, however, the point is to last as many waves as possible. Each wave has random enemies, but it gets more and more difficult. The main gameplay mechanics are the same, however, campaign mode has a finite amount of levels and they aren't random. I made a system that allows me to read from a text file all the information about the level, like how many monsters I want it to have, as well as the frequency with which they will spawn. Also, since I'm extremely lazy as most of programmers are, I started thinking of ways to quickly and efficiently create those levels. I've made a Python script to do that, and here is how it works. The program will ask you for a few parameters, such as total amount of monsters on this level, the desired amount of time the player should spend on this level, average time required to kill one monster, and the last one is the point until which you would like to spawn all the monsters. Then, using an algorithm, I made the program output an optimal frequency with which to spawn all the enemies such that all the parameters are respected. So for example, let's say on average it takes 2 seconds to kill an enemy. Then, if I want to have 5 monsters that spawn in the first 15 seconds of a 35 seconds round, the algorithm will compute me an optimal frequency of 0.4, which means one monster will spawn every 2.5 seconds. I then use this algorithm to generate all 30 levels for my game. Alright, at this time I've already played the game for a while and realized it is very difficult to control it. I would get confused between the move and aim controller, so I started thinking of ways how to fix that. I tried many options, but in the end I decided to make a system for mobile where the player aims by itself at the nearest enemy. I did so by finding the closest enemy and calculating the direction towards it. This made the gameplay much more fun. Oh my god! And enjoyable, and definitely less confusing. Oh, also I made it possible to hide and show the stats panel, because it was impossible to see the enemies behind it when it was open. There are a lot of other changes I made, but it won't fit in this video. So in the next video I'll talk about the debuff system I've implemented, as well as 3 new enemies. I'll show you the new menu screen, as well as the new animations I implemented. I will show you the finished game and announce its release with all the necessary details. So stay tuned for that. Also, I started working on a new machine learning project which will be coming soon. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this video and what you'd like to see next on my YouTube channel. See you next Saturday!